The short answer is worth the upgrade, not the price. The long answer is watch the video. But first, I have a very quick announcement to make, like super quick. Literally the first day I got my Switch 2, the system's screen got scratched. Don't worry, the scratch was on the outer screen protector I put on. But I didn't really want to film this video with a scratched Switch 2, so I got Amazon's most advertised Switch 2 accessory bundle. This is a Binbok VR case bundle that is constantly being shown on Amazon, whatever Binbok VR actually means. It comes with a scratch-resistant black case, which is kind of boring, 2 singular Joy-Con wheels made out of plastic, 2 singular Joy-Con grips made out of plastic, and 2 quote-unquote Pro controllers that work for the original Switch as well. Let's start with the wheel. Overall, it's a terrible thing to hold with no proper handling on this thing along with the joyless cheap black plastic. Why would you use this? The grips are kind of fire though. It's easy to take in and out the controllers despite the grip being the same quality plastic as the wheels. The Pro controllers. The back buttons are clicky, but the D-pad is stiff and mushy at the same time. The vibration motor is loud as hell. The bumpers and triggers can't have any weight on them unless you want your fingers to rest on them while accidentally mess up your gameplay. Holy shit, I yapped too much. The case is boring as hell, but scratch resistant and does what a case should. It comes with the screen protector inside along with the other accessories. It comes with a warranty notice, a microfiber cloth, the screen protector I need for the video, stupid joystick caps, a small case for game cards, a clear plastic system case, and clear silicone Joy-Con holders. The case itself, I removed the scratch screen protector, put on the new one, and it looks great. It is super reflective, which is totally not gonna haunt me later in the video. Now we got the silicone cover things. Flexible clear plastic that goes right over your Joy-Cons, including some expanded harder plastic that acts as a more comfortable grip for the Joy-Cons. It's going to get yellow in a few months, but it's alright. Lastly is the plastic backplate for the system. And then I can finally end this non-sponsorship. Because if you didn't catch it, this wasn't a sponsorship. I just did this for fun, to poke fun at this like Amazon product thing. And that's stupid because nobody's gonna buy this. Unless you're like, you want it. I don't know why you would. Like, this is the video. This is the video right here. Forget the sponsorship. It wasn't a sponsorship. Whatever. I have a Switch 2, and people are comparing it to the Switch 1 in like a lot of ways. But this overview is better, so let's deep dive into it. So we're going to start off with the Joy-Cons, and then we're going to move into the systems, and then, do whatever people do to compare stuff. So this is the original Switch Joy-Con. And the cons are they're stick drift prone, easily breakable, and replacements are expensive. The joy is that they're uniquely detachable, colorful, portable, Bluetooth accessible, and cheap to fix. On the back, the controller is entirely flat, which is good for portability, but not for comfort. The way to get the Joy-Con off the rail of the system is by pushing the button under the bumper right here. The way the system registers the controller on the system is by a chip on the bottom of the rail on the controller. There are green LED lights that are pointing out from the user to indicate the Bluetooth connectivity from the system to the controller. Out from the user meaning that it's pointing away from how you normally hold the controller. Time for the Switch 2 controller. The cons are it's still stick drift prone, it's less colorful, and replacements are expensive. The joy is that it has all the same joy as the OG Switch, it has a mouse feature, it's magnetically attached, it's larger, it has bigger bumpers and buttons, and it has a faster connection. Turning the controller around, the design is still flat, but sleek for portability. And in my opinion, because it's bigger, it's more comfortable to hold. And the way to remove the Joy-Con magnetically from the system is by pushing that trigger. Sorry the audio isn't louder, but it's super satisfying. Turning the controller to the once rail part, now just the magnetic strip part, the SL and SR buttons are way bigger, and there's a hole in the controller for the chip on the side of the system, meaning the chip is now on the system instead of on the controller. The indicator lights are greener and facing towards the user this time, which is a nice change. Before, you had to tip over your controller to see if it was wirelessly connected because that's where the lights were back then, but you don't have to do that anymore. So now we're going to look into the 2017 Switch system. So let's start from the top. From the top, we can see the power button, volume button, audio jack, ventilation, and game card slot. All pretty standard. We're going to switch to the side of the system and see where the rail part is for the Switch controllers. And if we go down, we can see that there is a hole for the chip in the Joy-Con. On the back, where the logo is, we can see that the speakers are on the bottom of the system. And on the left of the camera, or the right on the system, we can see that there's an SD card slot right underneath the stand. For extra storage, of course. And as I'm using the stand, we can see that it doesn't really, support the whole system. I mean, it does. It's only one side of the system. It's not huge. The way to remove the game card is by removing the slot cover from the front of the system and pushing the game card out, which is what you can do with the SD card as well. And it's a bit hard to, oh shit. Well, that was everything I can really think of the original Switch. Time for the Switch 2 system. Let me just clear that little, you see that fiber? Yeah, I'm just going to clear that. Okay, you can see it's already pretty reflective, way more reflective than the original Switch. And we're going to start at the top again. We got the power button, volume button, ventilation, charge and audio port, and game card slot. The new charging port for USB-C is great for handheld mode and tabletop mode because you can just charge on top of the system instead of charging from the bottom. The side of the new system reveals that there's new color inside the system, which is kind of weird, and it's a magnetic strip for the magnetically attached Joy-Cons. There is also a chip for the hole in the Joy-Con instead of vice versa compared to the OG Switch. We can turn around to the back, and you can't really see it, but the speakers are also on the bottom of the system here too. And because the Switch 2 is, bigger than the original Switch, it has a way better stand, and it won't break, okay? I'm absolutely certain it won't break. This is the best feature yet. PlayStation can do whatever they want, okay? They don't even have a proper handheld, and then look, the Xbox Ally doesn't even have a stand, okay? The Switch 2 stand, it's so nice. Anyways, what were we doing? Oh yeah, the game card slot cover. That's right. You pick it from the back this time, and it's bigger so you have more grip on it. And the best thing about the Switch 2 isn't the stand. It's the fact that the Switch 2 takes backwards compatible games with this original Switch, which is nice. So yeah, the Switch 2 is pretty nice compared to the original Switch. But what about the original handheld with a game cartridge? In 1989, Nintendo's Game Boy was first released. This was Nintendo's first globally released handheld, and probably the first handheld with a game cartridge. I don't know, look it up. On the left side of the handheld, let me zoom in here, we have the contrast scroll wheel and the audio jack. Imagine scrolling for your screen color. On the back, we can see it takes 4 AA batteries and the game card slot is on top. On the right side of the system, if I zoom in, we can see that there is a volume scroll wheel. That's right, a scroll wheel. And above the wheel is an external output, meaning you can connect a cable to a TV and play Game Boy games on that. The top of the system reveals the power slide and the game card slot cover, meaning when you slide the power slide, it turns on the system while keeping the card in place. Except the card is really in there, so that's not really necessary. The maximum internal storage of these game cards was only 32 kilobytes. This original Dr. Mario game is 17 times larger in volume than this Switch game. Not only that, but the Game Boy can fit perfectly on top of the Switch screen, all of it. That's the end of this segment. Compared to the Switch 2, it is 2.3 times thicker, and I would show you it running, except it got damaged from battery corrosion over time. So, that was like great-grandpa meeting great-grandchild, but now it's 2009, and the DSi is introduced. The DSi was part of a long-standing family of handhelds made by Nintendo, and they were called the dual screens. I don't have the original DS, and my DS Lite is broken, so I'm just going to use the DSi. But that doesn't make it any less influential because it had the first built-in camera to any gaming handheld. On the left side of the console, we have the volume buttons. And on the back, we can see the game card slot and the stylus slot. But you didn't really need the stylus unless you wanted precision on the touchscreen. On the right side of the console, we have the SD card slot. And if we flip the console around, we can show what makes the DS, a dual screen. You flip it open, and there's two screens. There's also an inside camera as well. Remember when handhelds could fit in your pocket? I think I do, which is why they had to be 55% thinner than the Switch 2. Only the bottom screen was the touchscreen for the DS, but it was still a pretty good touchscreen. Still a pretty good console for its age. And the internal storage was pretty good too. It went from 256 megabytes to 32 gigabytes at max. Unfortunately, this was the console that removed any compatible Game Boy games with the DS. But it did save a lot of space, with the new DS games being only 2.5 times larger in volume. So yeah, the DSi was pretty influential. But in 2015, the new Nintendo 3DS XL was released. Dumb name, but awesome handheld with two cameras this time. And on the left side of the console, a volume slider, this time on the top screen instead of the bottom screen. And on the back, you can see the stylus and the game card slot. On the right side of the console was a 3D slider, also on the top screen. And on top of the console is a better charging port and new ZL and ZR buttons. Just a reminder that the 3DS, even though it does do 3D, is still a DS. When you open the inside, it only has one inside camera, a C-pad, and a C-stick. The C-pad is basically an indented joystick, and it's super comfortable despite what it looks like. And the C-stick, it's basically a C-nub. It's supposed to be a second camera or a second joystick, but it's just not. 33% thinner than the Switch 2, it is still pocketable, and has a higher minimum storage of 4 gigabytes and the same maximum storage. This was my favorite console growing up, and it still is today. And I still use it today, by the way, even though I have a Switch 2. I also think that the Switch family and the DS family can easily relate. Both families never really did any drastic changes upon their new consoles, and both families implemented backwards compatibility with old games in their lineup. Each of these games are meant for a different console, so 5 different generations, spanning across 35 years. That's insane. We all love Nintendo's DS and Game Boy families. But what about a rival? Because in 2023, PlayStation released something. Okay, they released something. This is the PlayStation Portal, and it streams your games off the PS5 via Wi-Fi from all across the world. It has no exclusive games. It is literally just a tablet with controllers stuck onto the sides. Look, I'll give it that it has its own exclusive mute button. And it is 86% thicker than the Switch 2. But I mean, come on. This is no PSP, this is no PS Vita, this is just a streaming device. It can't compete with the Switch 2 or the Switch 1, or really anything that's considered a handheld gaming device. So now we're just going to focus on the Switch 2's operating system. Starting off with the original Switch, as soon as we turn it on, we can see that the news feed pops on the left and a home screen button pops on the right. As soon as we press the home screen button, we can see that the quality and resolution of this screen is 720p. Now take a minute to listen to these home screen sounds. No home screen music, by the way. With the Switch 2, it's pretty much the same deal. As soon as we turn on the power button, it's the exact same layout as the original Switch. And the screen's so reflective. The Switch 2 resolution is 1080p compared to the 720p. Now listen to its home screen sounds. So yeah, the operating systems for both Switches are basically the same. For more contrast, I put in the same Super Smash Bros. Switch game on both consoles, showing off the quality differences between 720p and 1080p. Both of these consoles have LCD screens and both support higher resolution for TV gaming. Now we're just going to listen to some speaker differences. Yeah, the Switch 2 speakers are pretty nice. You can hear from all across the room at a decent decibel level. So let's compare it to the original Switch with the same level of volume. Okay, obviously the Switch 2 speakers are better in this department, but let's check the loading times. I pressed random on Super Smash Bros. On the original Switch and I got about 2 seconds in loading time. Meanwhile, the Switch 2 took about 1.3 seconds. Obviously, a pretty noticeable difference in loading times. So now, I'm just gonna check how you play on the Switch 2 compared to how you play on the original Switch. I am playing Donkey Kong on both versions, Switch original and the Switch 2. Oh my god, I said Switch original. Original Switch. I'm not cutting this out. I'm so tired. It's like, what time is it? Whatever. I should be talking about the Switch 2. Okay, so the buttons are bigger and gives better chance to attack. You know, do more. It's more responsive. Okay, the joysticks are bigger and obviously there's no stick drift, which makes it even better. Yada yada yada. I'm almost done killing him. Watch this. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Oh yes! That was level 9, by the way. Or level 8. Now we're on the original Switch. And you know it's gonna be a little bit worse than the Switch 2 because that's just how it is, right? Except the buttons, you know, on the original Switch, they're not bad, okay? They have no delay, they're decently sized, so you can play whatever type of game you want. Of course, they're smaller than the Switch 2's buttons, but they're pretty good. The bumpers, though, the bumpers are a big difference between the Switch and the Switch 2. It's just, Switch 2 is just, it has better bumpers, you know? And the stick drift on this, oh my god, you do not want it, bro. But of course, you can replace these Joy-Cons with third-party controllers on Amazon or something. And if you really want to switch to for getting every single Nintendo handheld, or you know, replacing your original Switch, or just getting a new console in general for playing games portably, I'd say the Switch 2, it's good for that. It's just the price, you know? Also, when you pause a game or when you're playing a game in general on both the Switches, you can't access the touchscreen. I don't think there's any game on both the consoles that allows for touchscreen. Prove me wrong. And if you really want to switch to console for anything that I just listed before, I would say that it's totally worth it. I know it's expensive, so you make up your own mind. If you want it, go get it. I say this is a good console. Hey guys, so I kind of forgot about showing off the mouse feature, and the reason why is because it kind of sucks. So, give me a sec. I need to put this on. Alright, so basically, you need these little straps on your Switch so they don't scratch your table or the Joy-Con itself. And you can just start using the mouse feature right off the bat because it'll just recognize the movements, I guess. But it's super delayed on TV, and even right now, oh, actually it's a bit better right now. I don't know. I still wouldn't recommend this. It's so weird. Just don't use this. I mean, it doesn't really do anything. Why would you use it like this? I guess if you're out of mouse or something. Yep. So, after watching the video, would you want to switch to? Would you want something simple? Would you want something retro? Or would you want something weird? Honestly, I'd pick a Switch 2 because none of those other options fit. What would you guys pick? Tell me in the comments below. Thank you for watching.